Good afternoon, everyone. We're returning from our recess from the morning session. It's 1 p.m. And we're here to consider a land use item. Amanda, could you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Richardson?
Here.
Commissioner Thayer?
Here.
Commissioner Schroeder?
Here.
Alrighty, we have a quorum. As I said, we've got one land use item today. It's touched by a horse, SUR 22-0044. I would accept a motion to open public hearing on this item.
Mr. Chairman, I move we open the hearing on Touched by a Horse, SUR SU 22-0044.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to open public hearing on this item. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye, okay, excuse me. So we're in public hearing. So this is an SUR. Most of our land use hearings follow the same general scheme, but unlike a use by right where a property owner can proceed directly to getting permits for construction, an SUR is generally used for something that it's contemplated within the regulations for that zoning, but there's a kind of a higher level of scrutiny to ensure life, health, and safety impacts are addressed. So our general hearing process starts with a briefing from staff. Then we'll invite the applicant to amplify or provide additional information. We may have questions of staff or the applicant at that time or not. Then we'll ask for public input. After that, generally there are, we'll give the applicant the opportunity to respond to what's been heard. We may have questions for applicant and staff at that point. And then we'll generally move to a determination, which will either be to approve with conditions, disapprove, or if we feel there's more information needed to come to a decision, then a continuance might be in order, but that's generally the scheme that we'll follow throughout. And so with that, I'd turn it over to staff.
All right, thank you, commissioners. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Danny Klebaner. I'm a land use planner here for Community and Economic Development in Elbert County. And today I'll be presenting Touched by a Horse SUR case number SU-22-0044. So this is a presentation about a special use by review for a horse therapy training facility on an agricultural parcel in western Elbert County, just southeast of the town of Elizabeth. The location is 5350 Taylor Rainey Circle in Elizabeth, Colorado. So the process started back in January of 2022 with a pre-application meeting. There was no community meeting for this project. The formal application was submitted in August of last year. The first hearing was with the Planning Commission, July 18th, and here we are today, August 9th. All noticing complied with Elbert County Zoning Regulation 14-day advance notice with Ranchland News posting June 22nd, mailing June 20th, and the on-site sign posting June 27th. Here's another view of the location, just southeast of Elizabeth here, and west of Kiowa, and a little bit south of Highway 86. The zoning, it is surrounded by agricultural parcels, and the subject property is also agricultural. To the north, about a 40-acre parcel. To the south, around a 60-acre parcel. East, a 120-acre agricultural parcel, and then to the west, an agriculture property with a residential use, about 40 acres. Quick look at the aerial map. To the west there is Taylor Rainey Circle, and then the subject property highlighted there with the blue borders. So for this use, we're considering it an agritourism use for trainings. The special use is for year-round training for horse therapists 8 weekends, generally Thursdays through Sundays, with 14 students, and some will stay overnight in yurts. There will also be private therapy sessions, about 10 to 15 year by appointment only, and then the one special event is the graduation Saturday, which is a third weekend in September generally, and it has about 150 guests. This project also can be seen as educational in addition to its agritourism classification. So here's a quick look at the site plan. These are the areas that would be included in the special use by review. At the top is an arena, 3 yurts there, another barn, and as you can see, it's just a portion of the property, not the whole property. So all of these agencies were contacted for referral, and no objections were raised by the contacted referral agencies for this project. That included Elizabeth Fire, Water Resources, the Conservation District, Corps, and then other county agencies. So for a SUR, Article 3E5 lists review criteria. So the 8 criteria for special use by review are as follows. Whether this use is in harmony and compatible with the surrounding area and neighborhood. This is an accessory use to the primary agricultural use of the property. While the proposed use is closely associated with the agricultural use of the surrounding properties, it also provides services to county residents. Commercial type uses that will accentuate the rural character of the county are generally supported by our comprehensive plan. B, whether the use will have an undue burden on available infrastructure. Taylor Rainey Drive is a private drive that grants access only to the subject property and one other. There is no infrastructure in the area that is affected by this proposal besides County Road 21. The adjacent county road is not anticipated to be burdened by this proposal. C, if this proposal will unduly increase traffic congestion. It should not unduly increase traffic congestion. Public Works here in the county reviewed the application materials and had no comments or objections. A burden on the roadway system was not expected, and no physical improvements were required. D, if this will have any air, odor, water, noise, or light pollution, and this use will not. The uses proposed are believed to not cause any significant forms of pollution. The uses are agriculturally based in nature and blend well with the existing primary use of the ag property. E, whether all sanitation requirements will be met. Public Health reviewed the application and had no comments. The business facility includes 3 bathrooms that will be available for use, and then during events, porta potties are rented and cleaned. The leach field for the business is, whoops, lost it. Sorry about that. The leach field for the business is separate from the primary residence. F, whether the use will be adequately landscape buffered and screened. This business does not differ much from aesthetics for agricultural uses, and staff believes that the nature of this satisfactorily buffers the proposed use. G, whether the use will otherwise be detrimental to the health, safety, or welfare of the present or future inhabitants of Elbert County. This use will not be detrimental to the health, safety, or welfare of the present or future inhabitants of Elbert County. Staff has found that the proposed horse therapy training use will not be detrimental and, in fact, could enhance the rural character of the county and improve some service opportunities within the county. And then H is if there are supplemental standards that are met, and no supplemental standards are applicable to this request. With that said, Elbert County recommends the Board of County Commissioners approve the Touched by a Horse special use by review case number SU-22-004 with conditions. And further, if we look into the reasons why, it is because it is in general conformance with the comprehensive plan. It is generally compatible with existing and allowable land uses. It will not have an undue burden on available infrastructure. It will not unduly increase the traffic congestion. It will not cause significant forms of pollution. It will meet all sanitation requirements. It will be buffered. It will not result in significant impact to the health, safety, and welfare of residents. There are no supplemental standards. And after the Planning Commission meeting, Melissa and her neighbor worked on an agreement for the road and sharing maintenance of that. So the conditions are that the applicant will be required to remove the sign within 7 days. This special use will not be effective until all fees are paid, conditions of approval are met, and the exhibit is recorded. Recordation for appropriate documentation will occur within 180 days, and all structures must be permitted by the building and fire departments before continuing use. And that concludes my presentation. Thank you. And I'll leave the exhibit on the screen for everybody.
Do we have any questions for staff at this point?
I'm going to wait until we hear from the applicant.
Okay, then we invite the applicant to. Oh, okay. Okay, so the applicant's rep, if you could just introduce yourself for the record, and then if you have additional information you'd like to provide, we'll hear that.
Hi, I'm Cheryl Pierce. I am an employee of Melissa Pierce, no relation. I am here on her behalf because she is in California on business. It had been booked prior to the date this was set up, so she regrets not being here. Danny presented everything that we have. Melissa wanted to make sure that I did say that we were working on the permits for the yurts. As soon as we get through today, if that's the next step, we're prepared to continue on that process. So that's really all I have. The road is looking beautiful. Taylor Renee Circle there, as I left, they were still.
Okay.
Are you comfortable with the conditions of approval?
Yes. From what I understand, the permit is the only one that really has to get going right away, and I'm prepared to start that tomorrow if I can.
Questions?
Could you tell us a little bit about the nature of what Touched by the Horse does?
Oh yeah, sure. Melissa has created a program that it's a certification program that teaches individuals. It's coaching with horses. I'm a graduate, and it sounds like I don't even know what I'm saying right now, but I'm a graduate of her program. I started in 2017, and I partner with my horse and coach my clients through trauma and help them kind of release that past. And so her certification is the program is what taught me how to do that. And she does that online mostly. We have a lot of classes online, but we do have in-person sessions where we are in the indoor arena. I'm not sure if it was mentioned, it is an indoor covered arena. And it's classroom, basically hands-on, where we learn how to coach with Melissa's supervision and get our hands-on experience, so to speak. That's kind of what Touched by a Horse does, is the certification program is a big part of
So
that.
the people that go through the certification then can work with people who've had traumas using horses to help them through that.
Yeah.
Yeah, just, so I read through the material, I know it's been a bit of time to get here, and I know there were some injuries and other things delayed, but is this currently operating at that location?
Yes.
Okay, so this is just following up to
Yes.
put the paperwork in place, and are the yurts in place or not?
They are. They have
Okay.
been inspected.
Okay.
The inspector believes that they're all up to code. So
Okay.
now it's just the formality, not just, but it is a formality to make sure that you agree with us. It was an inspector that was suggested by your departments here.
Okay, no, I appreciate that. I thought that was the case. I just wanted to make sure. And having read the back and forth with the referral agencies, it seems like everybody was satisfied there. I know there were some questions at first from public health in terms of sanitation that were addressed, and certainly the fire district was satisfied, and then I believe there was a re-permitting of the well to ensure the use was
Yeah,
adequate.
that's correct, yes.
So I'm comfortable there. I guess at this point, I'd just ask if there's public comment for this. We do have 2 people that
Sure.
signed up. So Cheryl Pierce. Oh, that is you. Sorry, I apologize. Sorry. Linda Mitchell. Sorry. Ma'am, if you could, just your name and address for the record, and then your comments.
Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
My name is Linda Mitchell, and my husband is Brian Mitchell. He's sitting back there. And we reside at 33100 County Road 21, which is the property west of Melissa Pierce, and we're adjacent property line. And we are here possibly to learn of zoning change to 5350 Taylor Renee Circle. The contention has been our easement road, the purpose of which was to allow, in the beginning, when we purchased our property, to access the 40 acres adjacent to us. And it was told to us at that time it was going to be a single-family residence. So at this time, it seems to be that the goalposts are changing, and zoning to allow a business to continue to operate there has, over time, put tremendous strain on the road to the point of not being passable and loss of integrity of the roadway itself. Some of that has to do with weather, but for the first 10 years before Melissa Pierce moved there, there was no maintenance issues or any road structure problems, but with the increased traffic on that roadway now, we're starting to experience a lot of problems where when we come out of our driveway, we have to make a hard left to the shoulder because the roadway is in such disrepair that we can't drive on it. So this has been an ongoing process between their family and ours to try to come to an agreement. So if the proposed zoning is changed to accommodate a business, we would ask if it would be contingent with a written contract from Melissa outlining and committing to a future plan to follow up with completion of the second half of the easement. And it's been stated here today that she started with our, communications together to try to come into agreement. She started with the first half from 21 to our driveway, and it's in process now. It hasn't been completed. And then a verbal commitment that she would work on the second half. And that's where this commitment with something in writing would be the completion of the second half of the easement to remediate the wear and tear to date and to maintain the roadway due to traffic the business generates, and that would be as necessary. There's no county maintenance at all there. And the other thing that we're kind of experiencing with problems with that roadway, 21 comes to an end right at the property line, and then it makes a curve in front of, you need me to stop?
Oh, no, it just
It makes a
generally have
curve right in front of our property and Melissa's property. And in the wintertime, County Road 21 is maintained up to our property line, and then the the road grader has snow or whatever, and it's pushed right across the easement road in front of our dumpster and along our
Okay.
roadway there. So it makes a problem for maintenance because, I mean, we're elderly, we're retired, and we have these piles of snow and whatever build up there in front of our dumpster, and sometimes they can't get in there. So I would ask if there could be some kind of remediation with
Okay.
bridge and road or something where now that isn't plowed in there.
Okay.
And then I admit there's been improvements in the past week. This is the first time that we've noticed any improvements, and it's been kind of a contentious relationship, but we're working on it. And the first half of the easement, I acknowledge, and we appreciate her efforts.
Okay. And that first part would be
It's
from 21
end
to...
of 21
on-
to our
to
driveway,
your
which is
drive
about
and then-
halfway down that 40-acre
Okay.
piece of property, and then the other half
Half
is
generally
to her
just
property.
services hers.
And so the goal for us as property owners is to retain our property values, not only for us, but for the neighbors as well. And it seems through sales lately of property in the area, the properties are, going for $1 million or more. And so to let that road deteriorate to a point where, you can't, it's going to deteriorate our property values and hers because you can't get to your home. So that would be the only contention that I have, is that we could continue to work on this, but to get something, making an outline commitment for us to follow rather than just leave it up in the air for us to hash over between the two of us.
Yeah,
Sometimes it does get pretty contentious, and I'm regretful of that, and I hope that we can improve that in the process.
No, I understand
Okay.
the
That's all I
issues you've got, so thank you, ma'am.
And you're welcome.
Do we have anybody else that would like to make comment? We had nobody that wanted to be called? No, okay. So with that, I'd close public comment, and I guess ask Cheryl if you could step up just to discuss that. Does sound like efforts are being made to address the issue. Again, I know you're speaking on behalf of the applicant, but would you accept a condition that there just be a road maintenance agreement inked between the operator and the neighbor prior to that 180-day recordation timeline, as just to articulate what both sides have agreed to?
Am I able to take a quick break and check with Melissa on that? Because
Absolutely.
That feels like it's something she should.
Yeah, I'd say
Okay.
that seems a fairly substantial.
Yeah.
And before we take that break, were there any other questions or comments?
Didn't you say something about the Planning Commission having some comments with respect to the road agreement also?
Yeah, so it seemed back when this case was being brought to the Planning Commission, there was some contention about this road, Taylor Rainey Circle, and its condition. And then from what I understood, the applicant and the neighbors worked together, so Melissa Pierce was going to pave up to their driveway with 4 to 6 inches of asphalt, and I believe they did that, or they've paved to that point, right, or they're in the process of that. Cheryl, you said you had some pictures. Did you send me those pictures?
I did.
Okay, so I can show some pictures of the road in its state now, if you'd like.
Yeah, if you could, and then you had said paving. Is it pavement or crushed asphalt?
Crushed asphalt, it's
Okay.
the black,
Yeah, okay.
and
Want to make sure
the
we're,
big equipment is coming in and out, different pieces are needed.
Okay.
Not my forte, but.
no, understood. And then,
Yeah, and I've worked for Touched by a Horse since 2021, and I do believe 2 years ago, too, we did bring in, they were bigger rocks, and we did put them down on the hole. So there has been, at least since I've worked at Touched by a Horse, maintenance done on the road by Melissa. She did pay for that. So just wanted to. let you know.
Okay. And then just to the comment on snow removal and road and bridge operations, that's really not yours to answer, but we'll work that one internally because we shouldn't be pushing snow beyond our rights of way.
Can I add that I can attest to that because I do come to the facility to work in the office. I do have a two-wheel drive little car, and I can get, the road for me has been fine, but that corner gets this last winter was exceptional, so there was quite a bit, but it was very difficult to get past that corner. Once I got past the corner, it was regular snow, but there was just a whole lot of pack there. So I'd like to agree that has a problem.
Thank you for confirming that. That's something we'll have to, generally when we have a road that stubs to an end, there's kind of a hammerhead turnaround. This may not exist there, so that might be something that Road and Bridge needs to address with the adjacent property owners to make sure we have the land we need to adequately maintain for that equipment. But do you have any other?
Yeah, I had the opportunity to drive out yesterday, and so I would agree there that particularly in front of the neighbor's dumpster, I could see how that could be a problem. And it's pretty much just a straight left turn there, so there's not a lot of, I'm sure that even the grader would have an interesting time turning around there. And while I was out there yesterday, there was a dump truck there dumping material. And of course, all the dirt roads around right now are a little rough. But that's a lot of progress has been made. And correct me if I'm wrong, but when I was there yesterday, the first dump was pretty close to where the turnaround is that's going into the subject property. So is this going through is the intention right now to do the crushed asphalt all the way to the subject property?
No, it was to do it up into the driveway of the Mitchells. There's some spots that needed some addressing, especially the dump trucks. Honestly, the trash truck, it's a necessary evil that really, they dig into a lot of it. So we have made a little bit of repair up by the gate to 5350.
That's what I was seeing.
So yes, so it's not, at this moment, it's not the full way, but it is repair.
We're getting there.
It's needed, yeah.
And beyond the neighbor's entrance, it really impacts the subject property is what's impacted, and I'm assuming
So
there's a
that
vested
was
interest in keeping access to your own property, so.
completely.
But if you did want to take a brief recess to contact her,
I would like
we'll
to.
do that now, and just.
Can I be specific on what exactly I'm gonna talk to her about?
Well, it just seems that the letter we received that discusses this, and if you don't have a copy, I'd happily give it to you, but
Perfect.
that was from Melissa. It ends that the letter documents the agreement made after the Planning Commission hearing and the recommendation that both parties use the access road came to an agreement to move forward regarding an agreed upon maintenance plan for the future.
Are you talking about the email that I sent on the 19th of July?
I don't, I'll hand it to you. It was a letter signed by Melissa that it indicated an agreement had been made.
Correct,
It
okay.
sounds like that might have been a little overstated, so
I do have.
having something that both parties kind of agreed to would be, and certainly it would be maintaining the access to the neighboring property, I think, is the key to that. The access beyond that to the subject property, certainly that's in the best interest of Melissa to maintain. I don't think that.
So my question is she taking over full responsibility for all maintenance? Is that what I'm understanding?
Well, this indicates that there is already an agreement, so it's
Formalized.
Yeah, just a little more formal between the two parties, and I think it would really be that you're maintaining safe access to the neighboring property. Beyond that, there's no reason for anybody but Melissa to be concerned about the people that are coming to her property to maintain the rest of it, so.
And I'm just trying to get it straight.
I get that.
It's,
Okay, if you could use the microphone, ma'am, just so we have it on the record. Um, I know generally we're,
What it was in the beginning, like at the last meeting, it was kind of like after this meeting here and downstairs, kind of like a verbal commitment between the two parties that we would try to, work something out. Because up to this point, it hasn't been it's been contentious. And so I was hoping that I could get it, like, just having it verbal. Sometimes then, like 3 or 4 months later, you're like, well, I can't remember what we agreed. So if we could get something like an informal type of a written contract that we could both sign, and then, going forward, there wouldn't be any discrepancies about what.
no, I understand what
Just-
you're asking for.
just
and
for
it
both of
sounds,
us.
I mean, it looks like substantial work's being done.
Yeah.
If there's things that you would like to, that you've already agreed to.
The thing about the easement
I
road
think-
was when we bought the property, the stipulation was to get a building permit there for us,
Yeah,
was that we had
had to
to
provide we
provide
can't
the
landlock
easement. So the easement
across.
goes all the way across the front of our 40 acres. So it was our $40,000 plus, moving all the trees out of the easement and all that stuff and closing up the pond and all that. The expense of it was for us. And so to maintain that integrity of the $40,000 plus, we want, the whole easement road to keep its integrity.
In good
At
condition.
least,
Yeah,
at the least, to our driveway, because once it falls off of our driveway and then the erosion starts, so,
no,
I mean, we're willing to do as much as we can to remediate probably the second half in
it
some
sounds like,
ways.
I mean, I know
But
you've
it
got to
just
make the
needs to-
call. It sounds like both parties kind of have an agreement in principle.
We need to have some sort of a.
It is kind of a private matter, but we do want to make sure we're providing
That's why I
safe
thought, well, maybe
access if we do the
we could
approval.
get that
so-
in writing or something before, the zoning is approved and it goes past that, and then we're right back to where we started from. But,
Okay.
I mean,
Yeah.
I'm encouraged that Melissa and ourselves can
Yeah.
come to an agreement,
And
but I
if
just
you'd
want
like-
it to be
If you'd
formalized.
both like to participate in a phone call after, as we call a recess, we'll happy make that a condition
Okay.
that some sort of agreement be documented between
Okay.
the two.
I just want to make it be, a little bit more tight and a little bit more legal and a little bit more substantial so that both of us don't have any understanding going forward. And I don't want, arguing and bad neighboring and all that stuff. So,
Sounds like you have a clear idea. I think you have a understanding of what, but so if, yes, and if we could on the microphone.
yeah.
Is this agreement a stipulation of the SUR? That was my question, I know that there is a easement agreement with,
Right, so
when
the
the
access,
property was
the access
purchased.
agreement exists. It looks like, based on the communication we've got, at least on Melissa's side, she has signed up to do some additional maintenance of it.
Correct.
She speaks for the neighbors that it was an agreement. So I just think, just to clean it up, if this is something that both agree to,
Okay.
it ensures that we're potentially allowing activity that it does have safe access. I mean, you'll have access regardless because of the easement, but that could be a two-track if you're, we just want to make sure we got,
I'm just asking
good-
questions
yeah,
to
so it's-
clarify.
essentially it'd be good all-weather access primarily for emergency services to get out to the property if needed, so.
Completely.
But I'm happy to say 15 minutes or,
Thank you, that would be most generous.
okay, so
Okay.
it's 1:34, we'll reconvene in 15 minutes.
In so many ways in life.
Technology, not people. Are we good? All righty. So it's 1:41, we're back out of recess. Do you have an opportunity to discuss?
Yes, I spoke with Melissa Pierce, and she again reiterates that she agrees to keep the road maintained in a reasonable fashion that is comparable to the other roads in our county. One concern is that if we don't come to some agreement, which we have been working it out, and I'm not trying to put a flag down, but if this doesn't get fully agreed upon in 180 days, is our SUR going to be held up?
Yes, but I guess while you were gone, kind of as the wheels spun, what we're really asking as a condition is that the access, that full access to the property be maintained in such a manner that the fire, essentially it's our fire response and emergency vehicles have,
I hate to throw... Melissa saying she wants that as well, 110%.
I don't want to throw the responsibility on another local government, but at the end of the day, the life, health, safety issue is that we have
100%.
adequate emergency, all-weather, 24-hour access to the facility. And if that's the condition that's met, I think everything else would fall out
say
from
that
there.
she would be willing to meet that 100% because she wants emergency to be able to get to her place as well. Along with the Mitchell's property, everybody needs emergency services.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I think that requirement would, by its nature, require that the road be maintained adequately. So,
Yes, and she is willing to do that.
and it does look like substantial work is going on. So I guess we would have to throw that to you, Danny, if you want to take a bit to craft a appropriate all-weather access maintenance condition that we can throw up, just so we know what verbiage might be agreed to. So.
Okay, so maybe the condition that access to, it would be to the Touch by a Horse location is maintained to an adequate level that supports emergency services.
And in turn, it would be access to the Mitchell's property
Yeah.
because you have to
Yeah, I
drive
think if
fast
we
to get
define
there.
the entirety of that roadway.
Exactly, yeah, since the access is through past them, it'd be to,
Yeah. So I'd give you a few moments. We can recess if you'd like, but I do think we need to have the verbiage of a condition that would be agreed to, that everybody can see versus something that appears on a document after the fact. So I think we're still within our original recess time, so
Do you want me to stay here or should I
you
sit
can,
down?
whatever is most comfortable, but we'll recess for about 5 minutes and see how fast Danny can. Are we back? Yeah, we're back. So, yeah, I was going to say that verbiage, like I said, a private agreement can only be enforced through civil courts. This language at least allows a local government to intervene if the road conditions deteriorate. So. I guess while you were waiting a response, Dallas had a couple of questions for you.
I'm not sure if applicant or staff to answer this particular question. But first of all, the staff, Planning Commission's recommendation was,
Their recommendation was to approve.
okay, for approve.
Yeah.
Then the other question I have, we have the list of how many events there are in the trainings.
Sorry.
Is this SUR to limit to that number, or is there a possibility of extra classes being taught or another graduation ceremony? What's the intention? Is it allowed? Where do we stand on that as a business might grow?
Generally, the SUR was designed to allow for the business to operate as it should. It doesn't need more or less than the requirements that we put on it.
Yeah, and the graduation at this point being at 150, we know that if it goes over 250, we were told we need a special permit for that event, but so far we have not had even up to 150 yet, so.
And then the only buildings that aren't permitted are just the yurts? Everything else has been?
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
just for clarification on that.
Yeah. Okay, she said, I sent that to her, and she said she was fine with that.
Okay, thank you. So I guess formally I'd ask, with that addition, you'd accept the conditions on her behalf?
Yes, I do.
Okay, thank you. And again, just for the Mitchells, I do think that this is a condition that can be enforced by the local fire district if the road deteriorates, which is, again, a private agreement. If there's a falling out, can only be enforced by civil courts. So, though we try not to delve into private agreements during land use, recognizing that private roads there's always the possibility of contention. So I think this was a cleaner way to approach it. But I believe we're at a place where we could make a determination. So I'd accept a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve Touch by a Horse special use by review SU-22-0044 with the conditions of approval being accepted.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve with the conditions as listed. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye, motion carries. I don't believe we have any further business before us, so I would accept a motion to, well, first accept a motion to close public hearing on this item.
Mr. Chairman, I move we close public hearing on for Touch by a Horse special use by review SU-22-0044.
Second.
Okay, a motion and a second to close public hearing on this item. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. We're out of public hearing, and then I guess I telegraphed my next move. We don't have any other business before us, so I would accept a motion to adjourn for the day.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, motion and a second to adjourn. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? None heard? We're adjourned. Thank you.